It's 9 a.m. in the morning, and right before I was about to leave for the office, and all of a sudden,
I've been living in Noida for the past 9 months, and power cuts are a very frequent occurrence. Almost every house has a power backup installed at their home. So we started looking up why power cuts are so frequent in Uttar Pradesh.
but for this, you have to understand how electricity reaches your home. The process of generating electricity starts in power station, using large turbines powered by wind, coal, natural gas and water, mostly coal. But the electricity is not yet fit to travel a long distance. It passes through a series of transformers which increases the voltage, so it can travel through hundreds of kilometers of transmission lines and reaches a substation where voltage is further decreased.
Before finally reaching you, the consumer, the voltage is further reduced for safe household consumption. The entire system consists of 3 parts: generation, transmission and distribution. In the last 3 years, India has gone from being a power deficient state to being a power surplus one, which means the electricity produced exceeds the demand. Still, many parts of the country face power cuts.
People who can afford to have power backups in their home have installed power backups. But there are people who have to plan their day based on the power supply in their area. Today we are going into one such neighborhood where power backup still remains a luxury.
Hello. Namaste.
Chalo, chalo.
It's very dimly lit over here.
इधर सारे फैमिली रहते हैं, बहुत दिक्कत होता है। सारे छोटे छोटे बच्चे यहाँ वहाँ भटकते रहते हैं, लाइट चली जाती है तो बहुत एक दूसरे के साथ कमरे मिले हुए हैं और कोई खाना बना रहा है, कोई कुछ बना रहा है, सारे गर्मी हमारे उधर ही घुसता है।
बहुत परेशान हो जाते थे लाइट की वजह से। पिछला साल तो 2 दिन से हर सालों में लाइट जाते हैं, लाइट जाले तो पानी का दिक्कत हो जाते हैं।
ठंडी में तो कंबल में घुसना ही है, गर्मी में कहाँ घुसे हम लोग। गर्मी में तो घर में तो एकदम भभक्का मारते हैं, 4 मंजिल के ऊपर रहते हैं हम लोग।
मच्छर में ये छोटी वाली तो बिल्कुल नहीं रह पाते हैं। इसको तो हवा करो, ये कि उसके पापा जगते हैं, मैं थोड़ी देर सोती, फिर वो जगते हैं, फिर मैं सोती हूँ। इसको करना चाहिए हवा, ये बर्दाश्त नहीं कर पाती। देखो अभी भी पसीना आ गया, इतने हवा में फिर भी पसीना आ। इसकी वजह से मैं बहुत परेशान हूँ। मैं सोच रही देखती थोड़ा पैसा वैसा उठा के किस्त पे इन्वर्टर लेंगे, तो लॉकडाउन की वजह से हम नहीं ले पा रहे।
कहाँ से मिलेगा रात? इन्वर्टर कौन खरीद पाएगा यहाँ पर? सब गरीब आदमी है, कोठी में काम करते हैं, कोई इधर रिक्शा चलाता है, क्या करेंगे?
जिनके पास इन्वर्टर है उनके लिए सही है। लाइट जाते तो कभी आते ही नहीं है, कभी कभी तो 10 मिनट में आते हैं, फिर चले जाते पूरा दिन के लिए।
नहीं होने वाला है यहाँ पर।
क्यों आपको ऐसा क्यों लगता है? ऐसा क्यों लगता है?
20 साल से रह रहा हूँ, तो दोनों आज तो 20 साल से रह रहा हूँ यहाँ पे नोएडा में। हाँ। 20 साल से कोई प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं होता है यहाँ पे।
India in 2018 claimed that it achieved 100% electrification. So why is it that families like Shankar still have to face power cuts? Here's the catch with 100% electrification. Even if 10% of the village receives electricity, the whole village is declared electrified. But that doesn't guarantee 24/7 power supply to the village.
For instance, in 10 villages of Sitapur district of Uttar Pradesh, the power supply during the peak evening hours in 2018 ranged from as low as 14 minutes to roughly 4 hours. While India continues to add to its generating capacity every year, the effort is left futile since many parts of the country still face power cuts.
This is because DISCOMs or distribution companies are the weakest link in the power supply system. Close to a quarter or 24.6% of the generated power is lost during transmission, which is also called aggregate technical and commercial losses or AT&C losses.
Simply put, this is electricity produced but for which payment isn't received because it's lost due to technical reasons like poor infrastructure, unpaid bills, and most importantly, power theft. And this alone costs India 1.5% of GDP every year.
Between 1970 and 2010, Uttar Pradesh accounted for 29% of AT&C losses, which is enough to power the whole of South Africa or Italy. So what is the reason behind the sad state of DISCOMs?
Well, for this we have to go back to 1991. Until then, the power sector was government owned. Electricity was generated, transmitted and distributed by Central Electricity Authority and state electricity boards. But because of the absence of competition, inefficient infrastructure and inability to meet rising demand, private players were allowed to step in.
To further meet the challenges of the power sector, the Electricity Act of 2003 put an end to the monopoly of state electricity boards and decentralized the functions of generation, distribution and transmission for better efficiency. Most private entities started generating electricity, but distribution was still majorly owned by the government, except for in a few cities like Delhi and Mumbai.
Rising cost of purchasing power, heavy AT&C losses, power thefts, inefficient bill collection has led to state DISCOMs accumulating huge debts.
Hi, I'm Shweta and I'm a Senior Research Associate with Prayas Energy Group based out of Pune. As a country, has multiple states, has multiple distribution companies, and each distribution company works differently because they have a completely different governing body within that particular distribution company, how they look at costs, how they look at investments, what is the political situation like on ground for that particular distribution company, what sort of consumers they are catering to. All of this defines, let's say, the financial health of a DISCOM. So when you talk about power cuts, it cannot be uniform across the country. It has to be looked at in geographical, political, area-wise isolation. The supply quality in typically rural areas is really poor. Now voltages vary, especially around monsoon seasons. We see very high or very low voltages, and which leads to appliance damages in households and appliance damages even in commercial and agricultural setups, which comes at a huge cost. So electricity supply is not just about being able to light a bulb, but it's also about the number of times you have to replace your bulb, right? And the cost that you're incurring out of it. So to break this cycle, one solution was this solar feeder, where we suggested to set up a sizable capacity, about 1 megawatt or 2 megawatt of solar feeder or a solar power plant within the substation premises or close to the substation. And this power, because it is completely solar, you get it during the day when the farmers can use it the best. And because it is solar based, the cost of that power is really, really low as compared to what you get from the grid. And this could be exclusively to supply power to the agricultural consumers along that particular feeder. This program has kicked off very well in multiple states. Maharashtra, Gujarat, Punjab, and some other states are now building their plans around.
Multiple governments have tried to ease in the financial pressure of DISCOMs by offering them bailout packages. But the quality of power supply in India still remains inconsistent. There is no single solution to this multifaceted problem.
India has started investing in renewable sources of energy, which gives hope to the power sector. But until reforms are made, core issues are addressed, the future of power cuts in India seems bleak.